Hey everyone, my name is Lance and this is Amped about Aimpad. This past week we've made a few changes and tweaks to our firmware and I wanted to get some feedback from you, so let's get right to it. Alright, so the first thing I wanted to kind of go over was the new lighting effects that we've added to the keyboard just for something fun to start off with. For my last video, you remember that I set it up that you can set the colors and the brightness of the keys on the keyboard. We've set it up into two different sections. So the first one is if I do Fn and F11, using the A, S, and D keys, I can control the color and the brightness of the keys and allow me to blend them. So the first one for F11 allows me to control the analog keys. So let's just say for fun, I'll put all of them together to make a nice white color. And I push the space bar, that freezes it so that is now the color of the keys. If I then do Fn and F12, it allows me to do the same thing, RGB color light blending for the rest of the keys. So let's say I want this nice, I don't know, bluish color. I'll push the space bar and that freezes it. We've set it up so that you can save this type of lighting profile for each of the 6 profiles, whether it's the keyboard one, the first person shooter, driving mode, etc. So that allows you to keep track of each of the individual lighting modes. Another thing that we've added, if let's see, if I go back to this green mode for example, if I do Fn and then F9, it starts this breathing mode, so it will allow these other lights to breathe. Lets me know that I'm still in the green mode so that I can keep track if I'm switching between different profiles, say I'm there, or if I go to the blue one or things like that. It'll visually let me know where I'm at in the keyboard, but still have this cool like breathing effect. It's pretty standard for RGB keyboards to have something like that, so we've added that. There was this, let's see, I think it was a rainbow effect, yeah, that we added before too. I think I showed that a little bit last time, but more or less that's the new lighting effects. Something else that I've added to it was there was some comments that there was questions about, well, what's happening in the keyboard, where am I at, or what's going on when I'm trying to configure it. So for example, if I'm adjusting the dead zone of the keyboard, I can press the Fn key and then page up and page down. You'll see that the lights will actually get a little bit brighter each time I page up as I'm increasing the anti-dead zone, and if I hit the very top, it turns red. If I do the same thing and start going down, the lights will get dimmer and dimmer and dimmer and dimmer all the way until they turn off and lets me know I'm at the very bottom. So that's the same thing for the triggers and the analog sticks. I can control all that through the brightness, and it kind of gives you a visual idea of what's happening in the keyboard. So that's pretty cool. The other thing that we do that's similar with that is on the Fn, or the F5 mode. This is the MOBA mode. I made it so that you can set the activation point using the plus and minus. So right now it's at the very, very top, so it blinks red. But if I start decreasing it, you'll see that the purple lights will get dimmer and dimmer until I get to the very bottom of it, the key press, and it blinks it out there too. Something else that I've added to this function is the ability to set 2 activation points for this mode. So you have the very high key press and the very low key press, and you can control that by using these bracket keys, and it won't let you set the lower activation point higher than the higher activation point, so that's why it's blinking red here. But if I decrease it, I can set it to the very low point. But let's just say, for example, I want to set this first key press at the very, very top, and somewhere in the middle, I don't know, maybe about right there, that will be somewhere around the middle of the second point for activation. So I want to kind of show what's going on there using a different program. Okay, so this is a keyboard ghosting demonstration program from Microsoft. I use this program a fair amount to kind of test what's going on with just the normal digital key presses. And as a quick overview, this purple mode we've designated as the MOBA mode, or as an ability that you can activate keys at the very, very top of the key press rather than in the middle. So for example, like if I push this S key in just a small amount, you'll see that green lights up on the S on the screen. But I'm just pushing in just a barely, like a less than a millimeter in order for that key to activate. So these are kind of hair triggers to activate as soon as you possibly can. As soon as your finger registers to press the key, it will register. But we've added something else. So on these Q, W, E, and R keys, I've made it so that there's 2 activation points. So if I push down the Q key just a little bit, you'll see it lights up on the screen as Q, but if I keep on pushing it down a little bit more, it'll activate this second point, and this J key will be lit up. The same thing with W is with the K key, and the E in the L, and the R with the semicolon. The reason for that is it's possible for you to do some different things in MOBAs or other games that require you to activate spells that give you an area of effect. So say for example, if I push W in, I can make it so it shows me where the area effect of the spell is actually going to be, but not actually commit to casting that spell. But if I push it in all the way, it will then do a quick cast to activate that spell. So to kind of give you a good demonstration of that, we'll start up League of Legends and give you a real-life demonstration of what that can be used for. Alright, so here we have League of Legends. If you know anything about League of Legends, basically there's a few spells that you can cast for your characters, and they have different abilities. And they require some that are skill shots and some that you just kind of cast on an enemy. So for example, this one that I'm casting with my Q, if I hold down the Q a little bit, you'll see that this is where I'm going to actually be casting that spell. And if I push it down all the way, it will actually cast the spell. So, is that useful or not? Yeah, I think it can be, especially with this type of character, because he has this one ability where he needs to catch people on the edge of his spell. So, let's say, for example, it's this E. If I hold it down the E a little bit, this is the circle of where he needs to actually have somebody run into it, and that will force him to get stunned if he runs into the edge of this circle. So let's go for him now. Well, I'll just put it here. And he gets stunned right there, and I killed him simply because I knew exactly where that ring was going to show up before I casted the spell. So I think it has a nice added benefit, because if you don't have this feature enabled, then you're kind of blind casting your spells. Obviously, if you played League of Legends for thousands and thousands of hours, as many people have, it may not be that big of a deal, but definitely for beginners and people that aren't quite used to playing the game, I think it could be useful to have this range ability of knowing where your whole skill is going to be activated before you actually activate it. So I think that was pretty cool. Alright, so there you have it, playing League of Legends using an analog keyboard with multiple activation points. Be curious if you think that would be useful or something practical for you to use in League of Legends or any other game. I'd love to hear your comments or feedback. If you have any questions, also let me know. Otherwise, until next time, thanks for watching.